Welcome back to React tutorial. So this is fifth episode of React tutorial so far. So the topics we have covered is like project setup, how do we create functional component, event handling, like various events like kick event, change event, mouse events. So what are the various events we have? Those we have seen. Then we have seen one hook, that is set state. Like what are the variables we can create? How do we change the variable values? Some string variable, boolean variable, array, object, right? So today we are going to discuss like how we can create forms, right? And how do we set values in the object, whatever the forms we bind. So let's get started for that. So I will just in the topic folder, I will just first create a component. Let's say form, or let's name it as employee form .js. Then I have to create a component. So I will type RSC, press enter, right? So basic functional component is created. Now I just have to design a simple form. So I will add a class name, that is container. Inside that I will need a div, again with class name row. Inside that again I will need a column. I will need label, enter name, and I will need a text box. Let's create a text box. Form control class. Let's close it. So this is first text box. Then let's create new row, and inside that we can have mobile number and email. Let me just copy paste. This will be for mobile and this will be for email, and last one will be for address. So just a small form we are taking for just covering the basic example. Instead of text box, it will be text area. So we will need class, right? So our basic component HTML is created. Now we just need to render this particular component into our body component. So if you are new here, just have a walkthrough on the previous episode. So this is the structure I am being using. Employee form. So you can see import is being added successfully. Let's click on save all. You will get to see the form loaded over here. So it is compiling. Once it is compiled, so you can see the form properly visible. Name, mobile number, email, and the address. And we need a save button. So let's create a save button also after this row. It will be, let's say, call 6 button, class name, btn success, save employee, right? So you can see we have created a button also. Something is missing, double S is missing. Let's add one class, that is pt3, so that we will have some spacing around the top. Yes. Now, so you can see we have 5 fields: name, mobile, 4 fields: name, mobile number, email, and the address. So we need to create object which will store the data of this particular thing. So let's create object. Let me just close the things. Now here we have to create the object, right? So constant square bracket, let's say employee obj set employee obj is equal to set state or use state. So you can see React import has been successfully updated. After that, we this is an employee object. So basic by default, we have to create some properties, like so I'm creating empty object. So things we are going to need is name, that is first field, comma, then mobile, that will be again empty, email, that will be empty, and address, colon empty. So you can see we have created a variable that is employee object, use state method, and we have initialized the object with certain fields. Now, next thing is we need to bind these, right? We need to bind this field with this particular text box. So we just have to make use of the value attribute, and inside that we can bind employee object dot particular field name over here. Like this, we can bind all the properties. This will bind to the mobile, email, and last one is address. Right. So while initialization, let's try to add name only so that we can check like this value is working properly or not. So you can see value is coming. Remaining fields are empty. That's why it is empty. But for name property, we have initialized one name. Now, next thing is like we have bind all this particular property to the text box. But when we change the value in the text box, that value should get assigned to that particular field. So for that, we have created a set use state method. Now we just need to implement it. So for implementing, we need to use on change method, right? So we need to use on change method over here. On change round bracket. We are going to pass the event. So that's why E. Now here we need to pass the function. So let's create a function first. Now function is something new over here. So let's create a function which will be dynamic because we are going to change the object. So for every text box, creating multiple function is not a proper way. So we can create one function and that function will be responsible to change all the particular fields with all the text box, right? So for that, change employee obj. Now here I will have two properties. First is event, second will be key, right? So what we have to do is we need to use this method set employee object. So normal way will be like what we have seen previously. So let's say previous object, right? So previous object, then arrow operator, then dot previous object, and whatever property we need to change. Let's say we need to change name property and whatever the value we get, right? So this is how we used to change the particular field value from the object. But now this same function is going to be used in all the input elements. So for that, this key, now this is nothing but my key. So this key I have to provide. Let me just explain a little bit. Let's say we have a student object, normal object I'm explaining. And inside that we have name property. Then we have city property, right? So this is a normal object. What are the various ways by which we can change the properties? First way is student object dot, we can access the property, right? Another way is student object, this same, without using dot property, we can do that by providing in the square bracket, city is equal to something, right? This is also way. But what if this particular key is stored in a variable? I mean, key name, this city will be stored in a particular variable. Now I can use this same line, I will write it like this, student object square bracket, and I will pass the key over here, and then I can pass the value again, right? So you can see this same thing I have written, but this was a static thing. I have written static thing over here, but now whatever the thing I have in this variable, that will be passed over here. So this same concept, we are going to use it in this function. So now instead of this static thing, I will wrap it into the square box, and provide the key. Then event.target.value, just the normal thing. Right? So let me just add a debugger. So first time we will debug the code. Now this function I have to use on all the text box element. So two. Now this function has two events. First is the two parameter. First is the event and second is the key. So event will be this E only. Now key will be name, right? Whatever the property we need to change. Now this function, same function will be applicable on all the text box. Just your field means key name will keep changing. Let's copy paste. Then it will be value. But something is missing. Object was missing, I think. So email will be over here, just like this. Last one for the address. And this will be address. Right? So let's just add debugger is there. Let's just save and check now. Now, the when we have created the object, the particular name property was having value Chetan. Let's try to replace it. But now if I enter some value, let I'm adding 1. So you can see function got triggered. Now if you see in event.target.value, we might have got that event.target.value, we might have got, let's see what we have got. Let me just print it into the console. Why it is saying reading value cannot read properties of undefined. Why is it so? Event.target. Let's find out value. Okay, let's see after some time. But key you can see name we have got and event also we have got. Now in the current object, that is previous object, let me just debug one more time. Now if we see, okay, so again we need to print. Let's just print the value. It is saying cannot read properties of undefined reading value. Okay, so spelling mistake is wrong. This should be target. And after that, let's print the updated object also, so that we can see value has been changed or not. So employee object, I will print it over here. Now on the page load, it was like this. Let's try W over here. So you can see event.target.value. You can see the latest value we have got, and key is also name. So F10. Now in the employee object, okay, the value is not there, but because we need to re-render that thing, right? So I will explain it sometime, but value is changed properly. Okay, but if we try to display the same value, I will try to display in a p tag. After this label in span tag, I will try to display. Let's see. On the page load, value is like this, but if I enter something and keep on continuing, you can see here also value is getting changed, means that particular value on that particular field is also getting changed, right? So this is what we have seen. Now, so name we have seen just like that. Let me try to print whole object. After that, comma, mobile and address we will print, just to show you like values are getting changed or not. Let me just reload. So now let's try to enter 3 over here. So you can see 3 is getting printed. Let me just add a debugger. 4. So now if you can see, we have entered the data into the mobile. So in key, you have got mobile. So it is what it is doing from our object. It will just update the value of mobile field. Continue. If I provide something in the address, you can see I have got key as address. Now it will update the value to the address field. Likewise, it is performing. So we are able to, whatever the value we fill or enter into the particular field text box, that value is getting entered into that particular object key, right? So this is the first way what we have did, right? So when we click on save employee, what we need to do, we will just showcase the latest object into an alert box. So this is a button. So on click, round bracket, show data. Let's create this function. Now here what we need to do, we just need to showcase the latest data. It won't, I'm not sure like it won't show or not because we need to render the updated data. Let's see. Okay, it is object, we need to print it only. So otherwise on the button click, we will just assign the data to the another variable and then we will print it. So let's create constant new object, or let's simply store this particular data into array and display that into the table format, right? That will make more sense. So instead of this, yeah, let the function be. So now next thing is we have to create an array which will hold this student employee information. So let's create object. Let me just get rid of this. This is not needed as it was just for the explanation. So now we have to create an array which will hold the employee data. Constant employee array, square bracket set emp array is equal to use state, round bracket, and I will just initialize the array with empty array, right? So we have created an array which is going to store the employee data, multiple data, right? Now we need a function which will be responsible to push the data, right? So just like we have did this to update the object, we need one more function, constant or push array, push object, push employee, round bracket, right? So our method is created. In this method, now we have to just push whatever the current object is there into our array. So this is the say use state method I have to use. Previous array equal to then square bracket. Then we just have to combine the previous array with new array, comma, new array is in my employee object. That's it. So this is kind of, we are pushing in the existing array, we are pushing new elements. So this is, we are just combining, this is the array and this is the new object we are pushing, right? So let's see. Now this method I have to call on this button click. So instead of show data, we will call this. Now we don't need this. So you can see we have created an empty array, use state method that is set emp array, and inside that we are just assigning new object to the existing array. Now we have to display whatever the data we have in the employee array into the tabular format. So after this container or after this row, let's create, let me just copy paste the basic thing. So now here we need table. Inside that t head will be there. Inside that tr, this will be static tr. th. First will be name, second mobile, and email. Address we won't be showing. It is not necessary that we should show all the fields, just limited field of also we can show. Then we need t-body. Now to show the data into my t-body, we need to make use of the map, right? So in React, wherever we need to iterate some elements, that element need to be inside the map function, right? So that particular element will be repeated up till that whatever the array elements, number of elements we have into that array, right? So for that, what we have to use is first curly object, then our array name, that is employee array, right? Dot map round bracket. It will have two properties it will be have. First is like emp, then index equal to, then we need return statement, and inside that return we will have tr. Sorry, round bracket is missing. Then we will have td over here. Now here in employee we will get an object, right? So again curly bracket, employee dot name property, like that, name, mobile, and email. Three properties we are going to display in my tr. Let's save and check now. So you can see currently we don't have any data over here. Okay, some height issue is there, so let's just change that height. Index.ts. Okay, so now it is proper. So let's Chetan, mobile number, save employee. So you can see that data is visible over here. Now let's change the data. Rahul, double eight. Let's try it. Rahul @gmail.com, address, Pune, save employee. So you can see whatever the data we are entering, that record is getting pushed onto that particular array. Let's debug this now one more time. So Ankit, let's disable it for now. Ankit, mobile number, now on click of save, we need to just debug that function. So this is the function. So on click of save employee, you can see in employee object, we have got the updated object. You can see that we are just pushing to the existing array, right? So on continue, you get to see the latest record over here. So this is how we normally do deal with forms. And same thing, like second thing was, how do we display the data into elements, right? So just I was not sure, like I was going to take this, how do we use the map operator over here, but just to make the video functional, like on click of save employee, we are pushing that object into our array, and that data we have to display it somewhere, right? So we have displayed that into the table. Let's just add a class, then it will look proper. So class name, table border, so it will take the full width and everything. Yes, so you can see proper table is visible over here. So this is how we deal with the form. Once again, I will revise. So first thing what we did is we have created an object with useState method, and we have just initialized the certain fields in that particular object. Values also you can initialize, just like I have initialized name only, others are kept empty. Then let's say on the page load you need to initialize some value, so you need to bind this particular key to that particular object by using value property. So like this you can bind with name, mobile number, email and address everywhere. Then on text box change we need to update the particular field value, right? So for that we have created on change function, and we have to pass the event also. And for this function we have passed two parameters. First is event and second is the key name, like from that object which key I need to modify, right? So our function is like that. So here we have two function, event and the key. So in while using useState method, what we have did is this key we have just made it dynamic. In the square bracket, instead of static thing, we have just provided whatever the value we get from the parameter, and event.target.value. That's it. So like this we were able to update the object value. The next thing what we have did is, just close this. Next thing what we have did is we have created an empty array object, right? Employee array we have created, and that is initialized at empty. Then we have created one method that will be responsible to push the particular object to the array. So you can see we have created useState method that is set emp array, and we have just combined both object. We have just pushed the object to the existing array, and we have called this function on this button click. Now the object is pushed to the array, but we need to display it also somewhere. So we have used the map operator. So you can see table I have created, t head was static. This is my heading, that will be static. Then t body, inside t body, tr should be that much time iterable. Whatever the elements we have, that much time my tr should be repeated, right? So that's why in a map function, I am returning simply tr, and inside the tr, I'm using this employee object and whatever the property I need to display. Right, let me just add index also over here. Let's see what do we get. I think it will start from 0, but let's see. One th also we can increase. Yeah, so it is in starting with 0. Let's try to increment it like this. Yeah, so you can see indexing properly started from 1, 2, 3. Right? So this is how we have completed our normal, how do we deal with form and how do we use map operator also in the React. Right? In next video again I will coming with some more topics. If you are new to this, please watch all my 4 previous videos. If you know HTML, CSS and basic of JavaScript, you can always start learning React with the basic knowledge, right? So please do subscribe and like my videos. Thank you.